Welcome to Barbara Brown's Babblings, brought to you by the descendant of pontificating progenitors and generous donations from
the Family Encouragement Foundation.
Encouragement I can count on, with special thanks to the wacky world in which I live. Today's babbling is entitled The Little Donut Shop. Many, many years ago, in a small Midwestern town where I lived for a few years, there was a wonderful little donut shop. It was the only place in town that stayed open all night. Places like Denny's hadn't come along, and the closest thing we had to late-night drive-through was catching someone's mom in the kitchen before she went to bed. After midnight, if you wanted a late-night snack, or to meet up with friends, or just to get out of the house for a while, the donut shop was it. It was as old as Methuselah, and just about as scary. But the donuts were always hot out of the fryer, and the coffee was always strong and fresh. And it had another very special attribute. It was a kind of Switzerland in a town of ethnic and cultural diversity. By mutual agreement of the owners and the patronage, within its dingy walls, everybody pretty much left each other alone. Forced by limited options and necessity, folks got along and it all worked out fine. Share and share alike, no cuts and no comments. Class, color, community standing, politics and religion all got left at the door. It was an unspoken rule, no one talked about anything controversial. No one remarked upon or even seemed to notice another person's appearance. It wasn't unusual to find the mayor in slippers waiting in line behind the town drunk, or the white high school maintenance man passing napkins to the black delivery man, or a hophead sharing a pitcher of cream with a pothead. Cops loaded large pink boxes with a baker's dozen and pointedly ignored the inebriated patron snoozing over a steaming cup of black coffee, or the speed freak twitching from foot to foot. Old men sat in the corner, read newspapers, and huffed over headlines they disliked, but kept most commentary to themselves. Student study groups, made up of kids with nothing else in common, clustered at tables and deciphered their current homework assignment. Young lovers, wanting to prolong a nice date, whispered to each other, cuddled closely and laughed. Insomniacs, drunks trying to sober up before going home, folks grabbing some calories before an early shift, folks grabbing a variety bag after a late shift, all ended up at the coffee shop eventually. It was the place to hang out at 3 a.m., and by doing so you became part of a very special cooperative human microcosm. But beyond the donut shop doors was a different story. Lines were drawn, and you dare not cross them. Segregation was still the law. Men went to work, and for the most part, women were expected to stay home. Saying someone was gay just meant they were happy, but the high school drama teacher always made a point of being seen out on dates. What church you attended or clubs you belonged to were taken as seriously as what part of town you lived in. Gossip traveled faster than you could run home to confess your sin. Politics differed, but everyone rooted for the home team. Only sailors had tattoos, and only loose girls had pierced ears. It was at its core a typical Midwestern town, where opinions were slow to change and people got pigeonholed and rarely broke out. But the donut shop remained a haven, a high-cholesterol oasis where animals that might otherwise eat each other agreed to call a time out. I loved it, and I miss it. But, as the saying goes, you can never go home. Nowadays, I live within driving distance of a dozen or more all-night places that cater to the sleepless. And within this variety of choice, I have observed a migration of people. Folks of like mind or interest have slowly gravitated to the same hangouts, and the uniqueness of the donut shop has become a thing of the past. Perhaps we've come a long way, and then again, maybe not. Stay tuned for a new segment on weather forecasting through bodily aches and pains. And later tonight, we'll be hosting a fascinating debate on philosophical attitudes toward developmental stages. Thanks for listening. This has been Barbara Brown, bringing you Barbara Brown's Babblings. I'll be back to babble at you by and by. Bye-bye.